Hello, everyone.
Hey, hey!
Starting off
Welcome
with a raid.
with a bear raid.
Yeah, hello to all of the people that are hopping on right as we're getting started.
Thank you for being here. Hello, Bear. Hello, GCG. And then Darth Sombra is a regular in our Wenemy streams.
All right, well that's awesome. Hope everyone is doing well today. We apologize for missing our regularly scheduled StreamCast last week, but hopefully you caught Yoda Bauer's impromptu "Here's all the stuff on my bookshelf" stream. Um, while I talk about another book that I want to put on my bookshelf stream.
That was what I originally wanted to title the stream, but YouTube told me it was too long.
Oh well. This thing, none of you will care about this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. As some of you know, I am like actual professor person finishing my PhD, and when I write, Microsoft Word routinely tells me that my sentences are too long. Like you'll just scroll through before I've done like the grammar check, and like 80% will just be highlighted red because it's like this is too long, and no one will ever want to read it. And I have to be like, shut up, Word. Nobody's going to read it anyway. I'm going to write it how I want.
By a paperclip with a face.
Oh, but we hope you are doing all well today. We are here today. We have kind of a dual purpose today. We want to both discuss something that Jess, you've already put out one video about.
Yes.
The Galaxy of Adventures shorts that have gone up on the Star Wars Kids YouTube channel.
Yes. Yep.
Which is a new channel that they just started because the Disney XD channel and the regular Star Wars channel were insufficient.
Yep. And it almost has as many subscribers as we do.
Yeah, well, there you go.
You know, it's beating us by about 40,000 right now.
Well, I will admit I'm not one of them. I never subscribed to the Disney XD channel for the Forces of Destiny videos either. Because
the Disney XD channel was spoiling Rebels. It was ridiculous.
Right, yeah, you're right.
It was like, here's the scene of so-and-so's death. Well, screw you, Disney, whatever.
Here's this scene where Ezra is terrible. Oh, wait, that's every Ezra scene. Yeah, John.
Hey, Nolan.
Dickens. I don't know where my head's at today. Dixon Hill is a holodeck character in Star Trek: The Next Generation. Maybe that's where my mind was. Yeah, Dickens. Well, I don't enjoy him as much as some people do. But anyway, my phone is going off because Manchester United is playing right now.
I gotcha.
But
I'm gonna drop a link to our stream in our actual Discord because
the bot not work?
The bot is not working.
Maybe the bot's just migrated into the stream with us.
That's right.
Since it's low bot in both places, it doesn't know.
It's just confused.
Yeah. But we hope you're having a good day. We want to talk about, like we said, the Galaxy of Adventures. If you haven't seen them, there are about a dozen of them out now, and collectively it would probably take you fewer than 15 minutes to watch.
Yeah. They're good. If you don't know what they are, they basically take lines of dialogue from the films and then animate the scene. And sometimes it's not a direct adaptation. Sometimes there's like stylistic cutting through various movies and stuff.
Right.
They're really cute. I think they're a little too short. Because like right as I'm getting into them, they're done.
Right.
I almost feel like the title cards at the end where you can like click on recommended videos are longer than the actual show.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say that too because that's just YouTube standard is to have the cards at the end. But yeah, they oftentimes are as long or longer it feels like than the actual videos, and so we want to talk about those. They released I think 6 of them to start with, and then another batch of 6 just a day or two. I think
they're going to release more this Friday.
Is that going to be a thing that continues? I mean, obviously there's an end to it eventually, but
yeah, that's my understanding. Is it's like every Friday. The implication was like until episode 9.
Until the heat death of the universe.
Right, yeah. Well, forever. Until they run out of material. Once they get to Children of the Jedi, I might have to stop watching them.
Those will be the best ones. It'll move up to the
R. Those won't be on Star Wars Kids.
Yeah, I was gonna say it won't be on a different channel, right there with the Lost Stars videos.
Yeah, right. Oh man.
But so we, if you haven't seen, Jess, you did a video like I mentioned before already.
Yep.
About those. You can go watch them. They're not that long, so we don't really want to like break down each one of them, because that would take longer than it would to just watch the videos. But we kind of want to talk about them a little bit, and then use that as a way, as you can see in the title for the stream, of getting into this discussion that's been going on Twitter and other places about what is like the target demographic or the perfect age for Star Wars. Like, who is Star Wars made for? We've talked a lot about on streams before about what constitutes Star Wars and things like that. But we wanted to kind of use this as a vehicle to talk about this discussion that's been going on. But before we get into that, what has been your? I know you already did a video on this, so you don't have to retread too much. But what's been your overall impression of the shorts?
I mean, my kind of general impression was, if you have any interest in Star Wars animation at all, like, just go watch them, because like you said, it'd take 15 minutes total. Like, they're not particularly long. I feel like most people are either like, more Star Wars cartoons, where's my blood and gore? Or people are like, these are the best things ever. And I'm just kind of like, they're cool. Like, I'm like pretty squarely in there. They're like worth 5 minutes to watch camp. Yeah. I've been a little surprised because they're on the Star Wars Kids channel, right, and they're advertised as like a way to get kids into Star Wars. Right. But then you see like the Rogue One scene of like Vader in the hallway, and I think that's almost scarier than the scene in Rogue One. Right. A lot of them are fun, like the one where like Luke turns on his dad's lightsaber for the first time and it gets all like anime for a couple of seconds. Like, that makes sense as a kid's one. But some of them, I feel like they almost feel like trailers for the upcoming unannounced Star Wars animated adaptation or something. Like, I feel like I'm watching like, you know, how like back in the day, I don't know if you remember, but like when Attack of the Clones came out, they did like character TV spots. So it was like Yoda's TV spot and Mace Windu's TV spot. They almost feel like that. Like, I'm pretty much like, I'm kind of on Fat Batman's level. I mean, they're not the worst thing. I mean, like, I do like them. I'm just kind of like, I feel like if they were longer than 45 seconds with 15 seconds of go watch this next video, I'd like them more.
What have you thought about the animation style? I've thought it's not my usual preferred animation style, but I thought it's really well done in the style that they've chosen.
I think it's very appropriate for what they're doing. It's not my preferred style either, but I think it works really well for what they want to do. And I keep talking about the Rogue One episode, which is my favorite out of both batches, and I have like a screen grab from that as like my wallpaper because I thought it was so cool looking. And I tend to find like that style of animation looks really good for anything that's like a mask or a droid, but I don't tend to like human faces as much for it. Yeah. But yeah, I again, it's very similar to Resistance, where the animation isn't similar to Resistance, but my feelings on it are similar to Resistance, where it's not my preferred thing, but it works well for what they're doing with it.
One of my favorite things, which this is probably one of my favorite things about the animation in Resistance too, is that it is so vibrant.
Yes,
like,
it is.
That's one of the things you notice the most is the way they use color, and really the way they use perspective too. Like I don't know a whole lot about animation, but I've been shocked at how well done they are. And that it seems like a lot of work for something that is that short. Like a lot of production value for something that short. But I like it a lot. You already spoke about your favorite one being the Rogue One one. That's probably my favorite one from the first batch. Do you have other favorites?
I'm kind of going counter to my brand here, but my favorite one from the second batch was the Palpatine one.
Right.
Just because that one to me was encapsulating what you could do with this type of storytelling, where it was lines that Palpatine was saying, and then you're seeing like stuff from the prequel trilogy and like seeing Palpatine's plan play out as he's describing that he had this plan.
Right.
And I really like that. My thought again though is like, if you're introducing someone to Star Wars, it's like you're revealing that Palpatine is the Emperor, like right from the get-go.
Right.
But then I kind of got to turn it off and realize, when I watched the original trilogy, I was 5, so I didn't care that Darth Vader was Luke's father because I was watching flashy things on a screen with loud noise, So I never got that reveal, so it's probably fine if people don't get the Palpatine reveal.
I mean, honestly, flashy things on a screen with noise is half of what I watch on television and film today. So we won't hate on it too much.
No, not at all. I like these. Oddly enough, I kind of, and I hate to play this series versus that series because a lot of time I don't think that discourse is productive.
Right.
But I am probably more motivated to watch these than Forces of Destiny.
Yeah.
Because Forces of Destiny kind of has my complaint with that is like every Forces of Destiny opens with the same narration and like closes with the same narration.
Right.
And it eats up like 15% of the whole thing is just listening to the narration you've already heard 5 times. And then it's like some sort of story. I feel like this is where like my hardcore fan needs to just turn itself off. And I recognize that this is a me problem. But like they're so ambiguous with like Forces of Destiny is canon. And I'm like, yeah, but these don't really make sense if they're canon. Like I wish they would just say these are just fun or they're like 100. But it's like they're so ambiguous about it.
Right. Well,
I'm not sure.
I don't see anything wrong with the ambiguity because that's kind of where from a certain point of view lives.
That's true.
Like they're presented as canon stories that we've been told to treat as less than canon stories.
And that's true.
But I do like the Forces of Destiny myself just because they are like new little snippets of character moments. But I really like these Galaxy of Adventures ones myself. I liked the Rogue One one in the first batch. I think my favorite one was the Luke with the lightsaber. Just because of the sort of the symbolism in it, and again just the way they use color when he ignites that lightsaber. I really liked, and in the second batch there were more that I really liked in the second batch than in the first one. I liked the Palpatine one probably the best. You can't go wrong with Sheev. But I really liked the Han Solo one. Like Han Solo, the galaxy's greatest smuggler, and the Death Star run, the trench run. One when like my favorite, I think that had my favorite moment in all of them, because when Luke uses the Force in the trench run, like the animation changes, and it like gets, I don't know, you have to go watch it. It's really good. But I also
really like the music.
Sure. Yeah, they've been really, really well done too. And what do you think about the way? Because one of the things I really liked about them is the way that, I mean, the premise is that they're repurposing dialogue, and it's not always just a straight reenactment of the scene that they're depicting. But I felt like a lot of the second batch ones were meant to be like a mosaic almost of character moments. What do you think about that idea? I mean, obviously, it brings into question, how good of an intro to the franchise is this if we're showing all these different moments,
right?
But like,
no,
what do you think about that?
I agree that a lot of them were more of a mosaic, and I think that's why I overall liked the batch better.
Yeah.
Mostly because I don't need to be introduced to this series, so I really liked. Like this is kind of like what I'd like the series to be if it were made just for me, which is just a celebration of the parts we like so much in Star Wars. But I feel like there are also things that might make less sense, or not less sense, but they won't be as meaningful.
Right.
I feel like if you don't know the whole story.
I mean, if all you're trying to do is give your kid something to watch besides Baby Shark, then maybe it doesn't matter. But
That's true.
I remember when I was watching the Han Solo one, which, full disclosure, I watched like half an hour ago.
Yeah, me too.
But I remember, like, because the Han Solo one starts and they're in the cantina, and Han is talking to Obi-Wan and Luke about renting the Millennium Falcon, and he said, "This is the ship that made the Kessel Run," and I thought, how cool would it be? And before I could finish the thought, we were seeing the Kessel Run from Solo, and I just thought that was so well done to like combine this, and the same with the Palpatine thing. When he says it's all gone as I've foreseen,
right?
And you can see all those moments.
And I liked with the Han Solo one, it tripped me out because you see something that's very clearly an Alden Han Solo, but you're hearing Harrison Han Solo, and I was like, wow,
right.
Like, this just kind of hit me for a second.
Yeah.
To get caught up on some comments here, Fat Batman says he'd like to see something more in the vein of like the 2003 Clone Wars series. I would be all for a micro series like that again. I think the concept of that at least was very strong.
Right. But you didn't like that animation either.
I didn't like that animation, and I didn't like the real turnoff for me was the voice actor for Anakin. I couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. Like, Matt Lanter is my Anakin through and through. Like, so much more.
My least favorite things about those Clone Wars episodes was the fact that DVR didn't exist yet, and you like had to be tuned into Cartoon Network at the right moment to be able to watch this 4-minute thing that was airing before Dexter's Laboratory or whatever. Like, and if you missed it, you missed it, and that's it until they put it on DVD like a year later.
Oh man, but yeah, but those were really good, and they, that's where Asajj Ventress came from.
I think that's part of the reason why I like Ventress so much, honestly.
Could be. I think it's funny is I remember people getting really excited about them because they were hand drawn, and I remember watching them and not liking the animation so much. And I remember telling somebody, I don't like the animation as much, but the space scenes are really good. I like anytime they're in space and like ships are flying, I think it looks great. And then somebody was like, well, those are the only parts that are not hand drawn. And I'm like, oh, this must just mean that I don't like hand drawn animation.
Well, see,
which is distinctly possible.
I mean, maybe so, but like my favorite animated series of all time is Batman, the animated series, and like that's all hand drawn, and that feels different to me.
Yeah, that's true.
One of my favorite things about that, coincidentally, just to show off here for a second, is they drew that on black paper, and so like all the color is laid over on black instead of on white, and that's why it's shade. The whole series is shaded the way that it is,
really
because
cool.
the cell animation that they did was on black and not on white.
I like that.
That's your free bit of irrelevant trivia for
cool.
the day. Hashtag not my Clone Wars. But so like we've talked about a little bit about whether or not this is like appropriate to use as a first glimpse into the Star Wars universe, but a lot of this, whether we're talking about the original, the Clone Wars or Clone Wars, whatever iteration of Star Wars we're talking about, this Galaxy of Adventures and I guess Forces of Destiny to a lesser extent has really sparked a debate of sorts online about like, is Star Wars too childish now? And with Resistance and Rebels, like I know a lot of people that felt like, this is not hashtag not my Clone Wars, to go back to that, like this was not meant for me, and therefore I cannot enjoy it, or therefore it is beneath me to somehow sit down and watch Disney XD for 20 minutes a week. Just in general, what are your kind of first thoughts about not necessarily the possibilities of who Star Wars could be for, because that's where we kind of want to go, but like the extant Star Wars that we have right now being for one group or not another group or something like that?
I think that if you look at what has been released for Star Wars in 2018 specifically, let's just look at this year, I think it's fair to say that it leans heavily towards things made for kids and maybe even younger audiences, even to the point where, I think Solo was still PG-13, but it's still something that's a little bit easier to watch if
right.
you're younger. I think that it hasn't always been this way, and hasn't always been this way even in Disney canon. I think it's just how it happened. I think it's just how 2018 felt. And that, the going into The Last Jedi, we got Last Jedi, but we also got Phasma and a lot of these other things. I think in 2019, when we get Episode 9 and we get The Mandalorian, there's going to be, more of a variety. So I think it's fair to say that there's more stuff getting made for kids right now, but I think it's also because it's just faster. Like, it's a lot faster to make Galaxy of Adventures than to make an episode of The Mandalorian.
Right.
So they can come up with an idea for kids programming, especially the way they're animating Resistance versus Rebels, is just going to be, it's just going to be faster to do something that's 2D cel shaded than constructing a 3D model and doing all of this stuff. So to that extent, I think the kids' material has never slowed down because it's faster to write, or a kid's book has infinitely less words in it than infinitely is an exaggeration, but has significantly less words than an adult novel. And so they can just kind of keep making it, where with this other stuff, they kind of have to pace it out better.
Right.
And I don't think it's really a problem. It's just the way it went this year, I guess.
Well, and I feel like, and Bear makes an interesting comment that I kind of want to go off of, because he says honestly he felt the same way about Rebels until you made him watch it. Like the idea that it was not for him because it was on Disney XD. And honestly, that's what kept me from watching the Clone Wars. I watched the Clone Wars film, and then I watched the first couple of episodes, and I thought, man, I just cannot. Like this Ahsoka person like this. And when Rebels started, I still feel like Ezra's annoying, but he was a different kind of annoying in season 1 than he was by season 4. And I feel like that was, for a long time, like the way that Star Wars animation worked. Your first season was this really, really lighthearted, aimed at that sort of 8 to 12 demographic, and then it grew up as they grew up, or it just got deeper as it went along. And I do think that's something that Resistance has not done. Frankly, I think Resistance has gone in head first in a lot of ways that Rebels and the Clone Wars didn't. But it's while it's such an easy kind of cop-out answer to say this, we can't ignore the fact that the vast majority of the Star Wars that existed, at least prior to Revenge of the Sith, was aimed at a younger demographic, or at least meant primarily to be accessible to a younger demographic. If that may not have been the primary purpose, but it was made and edited and done in a way that it would be accessible. And again, it's kind of a cop-out, but I just feel like that's been the case, and I feel like arguing about it now kind of ignores the fact that has always been the case. Do you have any thoughts about that? Because I don't really know what to think about it. It seems like a too easy an answer almost.
Well, and sorry, I'm trying to type to chat too. I guess I would just parrot what you said. It's just Star Wars at the end of the day is going to be 85% accessible to most audiences, except for a few exceptions, which we can kind of get into when we carry the discussion down a couple of bullet points here. But,
like we actually have bullet points that we've planned in advance.
Yeah, the bullet points. The bullet points.
The bullet points.
We plan these out. So, when I read Twitter and I see people who make like real podcasts and they're like, we did so much research for this week. We're really excited, guys. I'm like, I did a lot of research for my podcast this week too. I watched 5 minutes of content and I turned on my computer. It was a lot of work.
You may not know it, but this is 100% scripted.
Yep. We planned this all out.
Like even the words, it's almost like Spaceballs. The words I'm saying right now are on the VHS that I can pop in. And
like now.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, what were you saying?
It's probably not important anyway. No, I was saying, George Lucas is on record saying that he makes Star Wars for 12-year-olds.
Right.
And I think the core fundamental purpose of Star Wars should always be at least accessible to somebody of that age or younger.
Right.
But I say the word core specifically as a caveat because I think there is room for stuff that's not made for 12-year-olds.
Right. Well, let's kind of move into that because, I mean, the people that were 12 in 1977, you know, that was 41 years ago now. You know, those people are in their mid to late 50s now. Like I was 10 when I first watched Star Wars, and my first Star Wars experience was with the re-release in theaters in '97. Like I was 9, almost 10 then, and you know, like we've grown up now. So like, is it wrong to expect a Star Wars for us too, or like? To what extent can there be a Star Wars for us that is not also aimed at that wider demographic?
Right. Well, and I would say that's where we got The Last Jedi from.
Sure. Yeah.
And not a lot of people liked it when Star Wars was deeper and more meta. But I mean, there's other things too. Where like in October, you and I read Red Harvest, and I wouldn't let my 10-year-old read Red Harvest.
Sure. Yeah.
Or we're reading the new Jedi Order now, and there's a lot of stuff in that is scary for somebody that's younger.
Right.
So, I think there is a tradition of at least having some Star Wars content that grew with its audience.
Right.
And I don't think it's unfair for me to want Star Wars content that not only is accessible to me as somebody like in my late 20s, not necessarily speak just to my inner child, but speak to what I'm going through as this adult trying to figure out how to be an adult. And I think that's what Last Jedi really did for me. And so I kind of different sides where it's like, on the one hand, I get annoyed with the rawr, it's too much for kids, blarg to blarg. Right. But I also get annoyed with the no, if it's not like if a 5-year-old can't watch it, then it's not Star Wars, because that's not true, because then Revenge of the Sith wouldn't be a thing.
Well, and when people say they want a grown-up Star Wars or a Star Wars aimed at adults, my question is always, what do you mean by that? Like, give me an example of like, are you talking about in order for it to be for adults, it has to be like Daredevil on Netflix dark?
Right.
Or are you talking about it's made for adults, therefore it must be like Deadpool, which if you ask me, Deadpool is aimed at 17-year-olds that have just learned how to use curse words for the first time, and think it's really, really cool. I mean, or are we talking about like I don't know if you ever saw Logan or not.
Yeah, I've seen Logan, but not ever in a sitting.
But like Logan is a rated R superhero film that is very different than Deadpool's R rating, and like it is deep and it's dark in a different way than the Netflix Marvel shows are. So like my question is always, what do you mean? Like because you're right, a lot of people didn't like The Last Jedi. I can't tell if I'm freezing up, but a lot of people didn't like The Last Jedi, and like a lot of people are skeptical of things like Solo, or really any new Star Wars. So like, what is it that you're looking for when you say you want grown up Star Wars?
Or what you don't want? Like, what do you really mean when you say you don't want grown up Star Wars? And for me, I have a very American sensibility when it comes to that, and that I'd be far more accepting of violence in Star Wars than like I'd be more accepting of graphic violence in Star Wars than graphic sex in Star Wars, which is very American of me, and I fully admit that probably doesn't make any sense, but it does because I have an American brain.
Right.
But that's the type of thing where, like, for me, for The Mandalorian, You know, if there's some actual blood and gore on this, it wouldn't necessarily bother me. I don't necessarily need it either. You know, I think Clone Wars did a good job of showing violence without needing to make it gory. And I think Star Wars films in general have done that. I mean, the goriest film in Star Wars was Vader burning, if you look at the films. And, you know, there's a point where I kind of like that. That's, you know, it makes that scene more meaningful to me.
Right, because it's the exception.
Yeah.
I mean, and Rogue One in a lot of ways was, it wasn't gory, but it was violent, and I just is it like something thematic in a way, or like deep or philosophical that you're looking for, or is it just like I want more violence? I mean, because to me, while at the same time I agree that there is space for grown-up Star Wars. And in a Star Wars, it's not necessarily aimed at children. I also feel like you can go too far. I feel like you could give me a Star Wars that is so adult that it is no longer Star Wars. And I'm not just talking about sex, but like we've never seen a curse word in Star Wars before, and
or at least a really, really bad one.
Right, yeah. And like we have a whole lexicon of Star Wars verse curse words instead, like that would feel so, not because it's adult, but that would feel so out of place in Star Wars for me.
If there was just like an F-bomb out of nowhere, it'd be like, why?
Right.
It's not that I can't handle F-bombs in movies, but like, why though? It's really how I would respond.
And there again, it's not like I need there to be an F-bomb in Star Wars for me to feel like it's meant for me. Like I agree that there should be room in Star Wars for everyone, and I think that's our general opinion about a lot of things in a lot of ways, is that Star Wars is meant for everyone. It should be largely accessible, at least in part, to everyone. But like I always question, like, what do you mean when you say you want a rated R Star Wars, or like when you want an adult Star Wars? And maybe don't be so down on it when you get it, and it's not that fuzzy nostalgic thing that you were anticipating that The Last Jedi would be. Let's see. Tim says he agrees that would seem
strange and
unnecessary, the language. Yagi says, when I think more for adults, I don't think more violence or more sexy. When I watched The Last Avatar, I don't know how I said that word, Avatar, for example, it was clearly a children's show because of pacing more than anything else. Each episode being its own thing, very obvious about everything. Yeah, maybe so. And Midway makes a good point, too. The Republic Commando games felt more Star Wars. And again, a lot of it is because, like, just the theme of it. And if that's what people are talking about, that's something I can get behind. This idea that it is not necessarily dark for the sake of being dark, but shows you a side of... I mean, Rogue One does this too. It shows us a side of the conflict that we don't really see a lot of.
Right. Well, and I think for me, and this is kind of my rule for Star Wars, and maybe I'd be a little bit more strict on it with Star Wars just because of what I'm used to. But this is kind of my rule in terms of if I like something or not in general, is if it has a purpose, it doesn't bother me.
Right.
But if its purpose is to be, look how edgy I am, then it bothers me. Like, you know, what you were kind of talking about with Deadpool. When I was in college, you can hear my voice crack there because I am a 12-year-old boy, so that's why Star Wars is perfect for me. My voice cracks like one. When I was in college, I did stuff for our student TV station, and like students would make their own TV shows, and we'd had like access to resources and stuff. And there's this one show that was student made that a couple of us, it used to drive us crazy because the content in it was so, I'm in college now and I can make whatever I want and no one can censor me, so I'm gonna make whatever I want. And like, there was a lot of cursing in it, but it wasn't the cursing. It was literally like they were cursing because they were in college and can curse now and their mom won't yell at them.
Yep.
And it was so awkward and obvious. And like, the kind of like there would be an episode where everyone got drunk because we can have drunk people now and it's legal, and it was like, okay, we get it. You have this like need to have it, and I have a hard time watching a lot of like Prime cable shows or Netflix shows, or maybe not Netflix, but like it's not necessarily like sex or nudity that bothers me, but it's like if I feel like you have a boob quota, I'm done. Like,
right.
Okay, like if you are literally doing this because you can, I don't care. Like
right.
It doesn't impress me. I don't enjoy it. But if it is valuable in some way to the story, we make jokes about Lost Stars, but Lost Stars has sex scenes in it, basically, and they're explicit, but not at the same time.
Right.
Like you know what's going on, but it's not like 50 Shades of Grey or anything.
Right.
But it didn't feel like it was in there to be in there, and it didn't feel like it was in there to be like, ooh, this is so scandalous. It felt like it was there because it was relevant to the story. Like it was relevant to the character growth for them, and so it didn't bother me.
Right.
Where there's other Star Wars books like Children of the Jedi where there's sexual themes, and I'm like, what the frick is this? Like, why am I reading this? Why is it here? This is so dumb. And it really comes down to, was there a purpose or not? And I guess for me, I can tolerate more mature stuff in Star Wars, more graphics, more material, if I feel like it's relevant to what's going on in the story they want to tell. But if it's like, we want to prove that we can make grown-up Star Wars, then I'm probably not going to like it.
Right.
That was really long. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's good, though, because I think it illustrates a lot of what I think about this, too, is... and again, I kind of err on the same side that you do. If it makes sense in what you're doing, I don't care. I mean, and like I said, I still think there are things that would be a step too far where it would not feel like Star Wars to me. The language is a big one. Like something super, super explicit and sexual would feel that way to me. Not because I'm a prude about it, but because that just it's so antithetical to what we've seen in Star Wars so far. I mean, the same way that like real world product placements would feel wrong to me. Yeah. I mean, it's not like this is a Michael Bay film and you can just have your Xbox promo in the background and nobody will notice. That's my second favorite Ewan McGregor thing apart from Star Wars is the Michael Bay film The Island, and it's just it's chock full of of product placements. But like that would feel weird because that's not the kind of thing that Star Wars is. And so if like I wouldn't let an 8-year-old watch Revenge of the Sith because it's meant in my mind for something and someone older and more mature than that. And so like I don't have a problem with mature stuff. I don't have a problem with stuff that maybe I would think twice about letting a child watch. But I just mature for the sake of mature, or cursing because we can, or here's a naked person because we can. Like that feels so like a step too far.
And I think case in point on that is if we look at slave bikini Leia in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
It doesn't feel out of place. Now, I think you could probably make an argument that elements of the fandom have probably sensationalized it beyond the actual point of Leia being degenerated and embarrassed by what she was wearing, or rather finding strength through it. But that's the point of her being dressed like that was to make a point about who Jabba the Hutt is.
Right.
Odds are Mr. Slugbody is probably not even attracted to Leia.
Right.
But he knows she would be attractive to like actual anthropomorphic beings.
Right.
And
Your audio has stopped on my end. Yeah, Yagi. OBS just loves us. Can you hear either one of us? See, yeah, I'm still getting my audio input and just not Jess's. We're going to restart the call, then we'll be back. It wouldn't be a Port Haven stream, friends, if something didn't go wrong. If it matters, I think this was a Discord problem and not an OBS problem.
That.
Yeah, so we should be back now. La la la. Baby Snoke. Do 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 do.
I'm not sure. Okay, I'm on the call, but I'm really quiet, I think.
I can crank you up some.
Oh, nope, there I am. Okay, I can hear myself. We're good.
Okay, good.
We're good. Okay. What was the last thing you heard in my tirade? Does anybody remember? I think I was about to make the point. I was going off of, you said maturity for the sake of
Alright, are we working again? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Oh, this is fun. I can't hear what you're saying. All right, friends. We are going to go ahead and call this for today. Discord has crashed a couple times on my end and is still not letting me hear Yoda Bauer's information. So we're going to go ahead and call it for today. We want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us on the stream. We apologize for the technical problems that we've had right here at the end this time. Last time they were all at the beginning, and now they've waited right until the end. So at least it's different this time, and it's Discord and not OBS. But before we let you go, I want to remind you of a couple of things. Yeah, Jess was making a really great point, and where you can find that great point is on our new Discord server. So if Discord will work for you better than it will for us, you can find us on Discord. You can be able to scroll back through the chat a little bit. Lobot posted a link. We can make sure Lobot can actually do that again if I tell him to. If somebody wants to do, there's a exclamation Discord command, actually, if somebody wants to put that. Yeah, that should work, Yagi. But if somebody wants to find us there in Discord, we can continue this conversation. Yeah, there's the link. There's the link there. So you can follow either one of those links. That'll take you to our new Discord server. You also find that in a lot of our video descriptions, and Jess did a video just welcoming everyone to our Discord server. You can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. You can find us there and all the places. We still have our forums where you can come chat with us, all the places where you can find Port Haven these days. The one other thing I want to plug before we leave today is something that, again, crossing our fingers that OBS and Discord will cooperate, that we want to do this Friday, I think. Just nod at me if this Friday is correct. Okay. I still can't hear her, but she's nodding to me and nod to you. She's doing some really nice dance moves now. And what is that? She's holding up a sign that says Callista is Luke's true love. Oh, okay. Well, reversal there. And also Krennic is better than Tarkin. Well, if you insist, Jess, that's what we'll go with. But this Friday, we are going to do something fun. If you remember, Jess and I have done a live watch through of The Last Jedi before on our channel, and what we want to do this Friday is stream a live watch through of the Star Wars Holiday Special. So you will be able to come and hang out and watch that with us and get our reactions to that. Last year, we did a series where we had some of our friends watch it for the first time, and maybe you can watch it for the first time with us, or at least see us as Jess and I watch it for the severalth time as we do this. I think what we're planning on is around noon Eastern time, but you can see once this stream is over, sometime between now and then, we will schedule the stream so you can go ahead and get notified for it on YouTube. You can find out about that on our Twitter and our Discord, like I mentioned before. But we're really excited about this. We both unironically love the Holiday Channel. She's yet nodding again, showing that again, she does agree with everything I've said so far. But make sure you come out for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. We may post the link where you can watch that yourself on our Discord, so that people that are friends of ours on Discord can find that there. Either way, you should be able to see it in our stream, at least a little bit smaller. But we're excited about the holiday special here for holiday time. So come celebrate Life Day with us on Friday. And I think that's going to do it for us today. So we will catch you next time on the Port Haven StreamCast.